In the last video, we talked about the Jehovah's Witness Bible study and why people deserve to know where that study can lead. Now we need to talk about the men in the cockpit, the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses are taught to view these men as the ones providing spiritual direction for the organization. That is what makes their role so important. They are not viewed as ordinary religious teachers or Bible commentators. Their decisions influence what Jehovah's Witnesses believe, what they teach, and how they are expected to live. So when we talk about the governing body, we are talking about men whose authority reaches millions of Jehovah's Witnesses around the world.
So let's answer the basic question. Who are the governing body?
The governing body is a small group of men at the top of the Jehovah's Witness organization. Jehovah's Witnesses say these men provide direction for witnesses worldwide, oversee Bible-based instruction through their publications, meetings, and schools, and are what they call the faithful and discreet slave. Listen to how the organization explains their role.
Today, Jehovah provides direction to the slave through Jesus. Jesus, in turn, provides direction for his people through the faithful and discreet slave.
That is how the organization explains the flow of direction. But they do not present the governing body as just a modern leadership committee. They connect its role today with the way Christians were directed in the first century. Listen to how that comparison is made.
As was the case in the first century, the governing body today provides spiritual food, direction, and practical help for God's people around the world. Jesus has appointed that governing body to be the faithful and discreet slave. How grateful we are that Jehovah, through our leader Jesus Christ, has organized us so that we can do God's will as a united brotherhood.
That means Jehovah's Witnesses are not taught to view the governing body as simply a board of directors. They are taught to see them as the channel being used to direct Jehovah's organization. That is why their words carry so much weight, and their decisions are treated with real authority. And that gives their updates power over the lives of ordinary witnesses sitting in local congregations all over the world.
But here is where the conversation becomes complicated.
After presenting the governing body as the channel being used to direct the organization, Jehovah's Witnesses also make another important statement about these men. Listen carefully to how they explain it.
The governing body is neither inspired nor infallible, and so it can err in doctrinal matters or in organizational direction. The brothers do the best they can with what they have and what they understand at the time, but are happy if Jehovah sees fit to clarify matters, and then that can be shared with the brotherhood.
In plain language, the governing body is making it clear that they do not view themselves as inspired or infallible men. And that matters because even with that admission, their direction still carries enormous weight inside the organization. So this raises a serious question. If these men are imperfect, should they have that much influence over a person's conscience, choices, and life? But this is where the issue becomes bigger than whether imperfect men can make mistakes. The real issue is how much obedience is expected while those imperfect men are giving direction. Because Jehovah's Witnesses are taught to follow direction that comes through the organization, even when they may not fully understand it at the time. And when that direction later changes, Jehovah's Witnesses usually hear it described as new light. Listen to how Watchtower explains that idea.
In recent years, The annual meeting has been an occasion where clarified understanding of Bible truths, a new light, has been announced and explained. So this is what we know from the scriptures and from our own experience as well about how the light gets brighter in modern times. It comes about by means of the Holy Spirit through his channel of the faithful and discreet slave. He reveals it gradually and at a time that it is needed.
Their idea of new light may sound like progress. It may sound like the organization is simply understanding Bible teachings better over time, but new light is not always a small adjustment. Sometimes it changes how people understand time. Sometimes it changes what medical choices they believe are acceptable. Sometimes it changes how they view loyalty, obedience, and their own conscience. That is where the phrase new light does a lot of work. It can function almost like a religious get-out-of-jail-free card. A teaching can be presented as truth for years. People can build their lives around it. Then, when the teaching changes, the change is presented as brighter light, and the organization moves forward. But the people who lived under the old understanding are still left carrying the consequences.
And when people are left carrying those consequences, another question comes up. What happens when the organization gets it wrong? Should there be an apology?
We are not embarrassed about adjustments that are made, nor is an apology needed for not getting it exactly right previously. We understand this is how Jehovah operates. He reveals matters gradually when it is needed.
That statement matters because it shows how these changes are framed. If the change is presented as Jehovah's direction, then the organization doesn't treat it as something that requires an apology. But the people who lived under the earlier teaching still have to live with the results.
Now let's look at what happens when people build their lives around a teaching that later changes.
For many years, Jehovah's Witnesses were taught that some people who were alive in 1914 and old enough to recognize the world events happening at that time would still be alive when Armageddon came. Those events included World War I and the major changes Jehovah's Witnesses connected to Bible prophecy. And in Jehovah's Witness teaching, Armageddon doesn't mean a difficult period in history. It means God destroying the wicked, while Jehovah's Witnesses expected to survive as the approved organization. So this teaching made the end feel close. It created urgency. It made many witnesses believe there was no time to build a long future in this world. And that message did not just stay in books and magazines. It also showed up in family conversations.
I was reminded recently that the safest road is to get a good job with a good company.
Yeah, but should we be pushing Anna and Tina to succeed in this system?
No, I'm not. I just want them to have a normal life. And who knows how long this system will last.
Later teachings continued to adjust how Jehovah's Witnesses understood this generation, including the more recent explanation involving two groups of anointed Christians whose lives overlap. Now, for someone outside the religion, that may sound like a technical Bible interpretation. But inside the religion, that kind of teaching can affect a person's whole life. People made decisions about education, careers, retirement, family planning, money, where to live, and how much to plan for the future. Some people were told the end was so close that this world did not deserve their full investment. So when the understanding changed, it was not just a new paragraph in a magazine. It was people looking back over years of decisions and realizing they had built their lives around a timeline that kept moving. And timing is only one example. Another area where direction became deeply personal was medical treatment, medical decisions, and blood fractions. Jehovah's Witnesses are well known for refusing blood transfusions, but over time, the organization has drawn lines between whole blood, major blood components, and certain blood fractions. Today, Jehovah's Witness materials say that each Christian must decide for themselves whether to accept certain blood fractions based on their Bible-trained conscience. Now, notice how, in this update, they make a change to how a person's own blood can be used in medical care.
Some Christians may decide that they would allow their blood to be stored and then be given back to them. Each Christian must make his personal decision on all matters involving the use of his own blood with regard to medical or surgical care.
That is the shift. Something involving blood, surgery, and conscience is now being framed as a personal decision. Now think about how serious that is. This is not about choosing a color for the carpet at the Kingdom Hall. This is medical. This is personal. This can involve surgery, emergencies, hospital rooms, and life or death decision making. When religious direction enters that space, people may feel they are not simply making a medical choice. They may feel they are proving loyalty to God. They may feel watched. They may feel judged. And they may fear what the congregation will think. So when the governing body or the organization changes how something is explained, the impact can be enormous. Because people are not just reading doctrine, they are making decisions with their bodies, their families, and their futures. That is why the authority of the governing body is not some abstract religious topic. Why their authority matters. The governing body's direction reaches into everyday life. It affects what Jehovah's Witnesses believe, what they teach, how they spend their time, how they view people outside the religion, how they handle family members who leave, how they respond to medical choices, how they think about education and careers, how they measure loyalty, and how they view anyone who questions the organization. That is why people deserve to understand the governing body before they commit. Because once someone is baptized, disagreeing with the direction from the top is not treated like a simple difference of opinion. It can be treated as a spiritual danger. It can mark someone as disloyal. And if a person eventually leaves or openly challenges the organization, they can find themselves treated almost like they committed a crime. Not legally, but socially, religiously, emotionally, inside the community that once called them brother or sister. And that brings us to the real issue. The real issue is not whether individual Jehovah's Witnesses are sincere. Many are. The real issue is not whether the governing body members are imperfect. They already admit that. The real issue is authority. How much authority should any group of men have over another person's conscience? How much trust should people be expected to give to men who acknowledge that their understanding can change? And what happens when a person says, "I cannot follow this anymore"? That is where the conversation gets serious. Because in the Jehovah's Witness organization, questioning the men at the top is not just questioning a policy. It can be viewed as questioning Jehovah's arrangement. And once a person is seen that way, the consequences can reach into their family, their friendships, their reputation, and their entire support system. So before anyone gives that kind of trust to any organization, they deserve to know what they are being asked to accept. The governing body is not just a background detail in Jehovah's Witness life. They are central to how the organization teaches, directs, corrects, and controls its members. Their words carry authority. Their updates become new light. Their direction shapes lives. And when that direction changes, the organization moves forward. But the people who followed it may be left carrying the cost. That is why this matters. Before anyone commits to Jehovah's Witnesses, they deserve to understand who these men are, how Jehovah's Witnesses are taught to view them, and what can happen when someone no longer accepts their authority. Thanks for watching Hidden Struggles. In the next video, we'll look at what can happen when someone crosses that line, how a person can be expelled from the congregation and shunned by the very community they once trusted. If this video helped you, please like it, share it, and subscribe for the next part. And if this topic connects with your own experience, share your thoughts in the comments. Your story may help someone else feel less alone.